in crypto, I think we're spring, right? I think crypto winter ended on June 13th. I think we're in crypto spring, which will last through first quarter next year.
Okay.
And what does that mean, right? Well, crypto winter is where you go down a lot, right? And we went down, 70 something percent peak to trough.
Oh yeah.
And we bottomed on June 13th. And now we've kind of bounced around the bottom here. And that's spring. Spring is, think about spring, right? It's cold, it's warm, it's windy, it's muddy. It's kind of, And so everyone's saying, oh, we're going to have this bull market. No. The thing about crypto, the reason sentiment's so washed out is Bitcoin is the cheapest it's been other than 3% of the time, right? In only 3% of 14 years has Bitcoin been cheaper relative to its history. So that's why people are so unhappy. Now, the markets, on the other hand, the equity markets are still, despite being down 21% year to date, they're still in the 93rd percentile expensive. Stocks could fall 50+% just to get back to fair value.
So your theory is that possibly the stocks go down, Bitcoin holds? Is that what you're thinking?
I absolutely think that could happen. And why? The reason, if you look at the history, 14 years of history, Bitcoin is 0.0 correlated to bonds and 0.15 correlated to stocks, meaning the directionality of one has nothing to do with the other. 0.15 is a really, really low correlation. But everybody says, but Mark, November to June, it was 70% correlated. Yes, it was. Because what was November to June? November to June was one of the great liquidations of leverage that markets have ever seen. We had the most leverage in equities in history. Margin debt was the highest it had ever been. And we had the most leverage in crypto. Michael Burry pointed this out actually a year ago, February. So he was way early to say, look, there's just too much leverage. In a liquidation, right? When Peloton goes down 95%, and you get a margin call because you bought Peloton on margin, you don't get to sell Peloton to pay back the margin because it's not worth anything. You have to sell bonds, cash, gold, Bitcoin. So what happens in liquidations, go back to March 2020, everything fell. But then Bitcoin rallied really hard off the bottom, up much more than stocks. Why? Because it's uncorrelated over the long term. But in those short windows of liquidation, where the leverage was coming out of the system, people have to sell what they can sell, not what they want to sell. And that's why bonds did so poorly. I mean, that and rising interest rates. It's why gold has done so poorly. Everybody says gold's supposed to do well in a recession. Well, it normally does, unless you have to sell it to pay back your margin debt, which is exactly what's happening.